Trump is using some law from the 1700s to get over judicial orders against extradition. Bruh, he sent his boy Elon in there and said, find the loopholes. He went in there and found them holes, boy. That's what he did. One of the first actions taken following the foundation of the U.S. State Department designating several cartels as criminal organizations as foreign tourists was announced in an executive action by U.S. President Trumpito yesterday. Trumpito invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 Saturday to target the designated foreign terrorist organization Tren de Aragua. Just hours after a federal judge in Washington, D.C. ruled the law could not be used to deport 5 Venezuelans. So 5 out of what? 5 out of the 238? You know? Soon after the EO was issued, a federal judge blocked any deportations in order to review the application of the law related to the recently FTO designated gang. Because that judge is like, wait a minute, this law is from 1798. What does that have to do with today? Guess what, Mr. Lawman? How about this? How about you do this? How about you go through all of those old ass laws, huh? And you figure those out. How about that? How about you do that now so that we're not surprised and nobody has to, worry about it while they're already on the airplane if the president used some law that's out of date that doesn't, serve us. Now, there's lots of those. There's a lot of those laws. Well, maybe y'all need to go in there and rehash that shit and figure that shit out. Soon after the EO was issued, a federal judge blocked any deportations in order to review the application of the law related to the recently FTO designated ganga. However, nearly 250 alleged TDA members landed in El Salvador as part of the first removals. It is not known and is being determined right now if the planes had been sent prior to the blocked court order. Listen, he's not even listening to judges. He's just saying, what judge said no? F him. Let's go. Get that plane in the sky. Don't worry about it. What if the court blocked it and then Trumpito was like, on, just hit the gas. Don't worry. Keep it moving. Right? They'll call me in the morning and I'll figure them out. If they don't like it, they can go home. Update, the federal judge who imposed the block on the deportations questioned a DOJ lawyer over why the 2 planes did not turn around when he ordered the administration to do so in court. Trumpito going to get some people locked up that, didn't need to get locked up. DOJ officials claim the first order was verbal in court and not a written order, which was done an hour later after the planes were well on their way. They had an hour's window to be like, just put him on the plane and get him out of here. They had an hour window to do it, and they did it. They doing sneaky shit to each other. There's a Cold War happening in Washington. Please believe it. Between 2 factions that do the same shit. Fuck us. That's it. That's what's happening. That's all that's going on. DOJ says, well, it was a verbal court order, but not a written order. The written order didn't come to an hour later, and by the time that written order came, we was gone. Damn, cojones, boy. Cojones. The system don't mean nothing. We breaking the system now. They breaking the rules. You break the rules, they send you to El Salvador. Around and find out. Flight-aware data that showed 2 planes carrying the deportees were still in the air by the time of the judge's written order at 7:26. A 3rd plane took off at 7:37. After the written order was released. Hurry up, he's done writing. He's done writing, we gotta get him out of here. Shy, ish ain't right. They sending the Venezuelans to El Salvador, but they thinking of sending the U.S. citizens to Guantanamo Bay. I mean, they've been sending U.S. citizens to Guantanamo Bay since what, 2001? Where criminals can be extradited without due process. Facts. It was over international waters. Just make sure we're over international waters so it doesn't count anymore. Hit the like button. There's a lot of those laws and a lot of things that Trumpito is doing. No, his boy Elon went through the fucking... He said, oh, we got this old one right here from 1492. That one judge that opposed Trump. Elon then released the guy's personal info in the judge's daughter's home. See, that's shit. Somebody should release where Elon's kids go to school then. They're playing fucking funny-ass espionage games up there. And here's the thing. They're all too dumb. They're not even as good as the espionage spy motherfuckers in movies. They're so dumb. But here's the thing. Most of the American people are dumber. because most of the American people fall for everybody's bullshit, Democrat and Republican. No mames. Miss
No
me with that
mames, güey.
bullshit. Just like when the conservative Supreme Court judges that ruled against Trump, conservatives call them sellouts. Now they're ruling on law, not on party lines. If I'm late to work, there's consequences. Sheesh. It happens. It had no consequences for this plane, though. The plane was early. They're on their way. They gone. All right? Make sure they're in the air by the time he's done typing. How about Trump uses the law from the Hidalgo Treaty and order the return of land to those Mexican families that stay on the southwest part of the country? Document was signed by President, folks. We're going to change the name of New Mexico back to Mexico. All right, yeah. Oh, I hit the wrong one. But let's give them the West Coast back. Let's just rename the West Coast fucking Mexico all over again. The deportation of hundreds of alleged Venezuelan gang members has since turned into 126 being TDA members and 21 MS-13s and leaders. The remaining 101 Venezuelans being deported for immigration violations. Now they're deported, but do the ones that are only getting popped for immigration violations have to go to a super prison too? Some of those deported may have been charged with crimes, but not necessarily convicted, and some are believed to have had no gang affiliations whatsoever. Just immigration issues. See, if you got immigration issues, you shouldn't be going to a super prison. Period. This follows on the heels of 29 Mexican cartel traffickers being expelled from Mexico to the U.S. who had long requested many of their extraditions. 6 cartels were designated as FTO, Foreign Tourist Organization, alongside TDA and MS-13 last month. Several of those extradited were members of cartels not designated by the U.S. State Department. That's what I'm saying. I thought people don't leave that prison. Lifers, I don't know. This shit says several of those extradited were members of cartels, blah, blah, blah. Where is it? I heard that earlier, and that thought crossed my mind. Like, wait a minute. You shouldn't have a date if you're in there. From my understanding, they have programs and stuff for them to work for them. They can be worse. They can be crazy way of thinking already, but because there's some of the worst people. Well, if there's some of the worst people, then they shouldn't have a date. That's the part I'm not understanding. They can be worse than they are crazy. I don't know. Maybe you wrote that wrong. I don't know. Trump made all that shit up. Then TDA are the first ones being sent out. I don't know, bro. Holla at Amy about that shit. I'm sure she knows. If she don't, her Sureño boyfriend knows. I agree. Are they just getting thrown in with no resolution? You shouldn't throw someone in jail without a case. It got to be something. And my thing is, if you're one of these prisons that violate basic human rights, right, which some criminals do, right, I don't know that you should have a date to get out of there. You shouldn't. You should be in another prison if you got a date. Are they able to be rehabbed? Like, would it make a difference if they send them to a prison with flowers and rainbows? I'm not asking for flowers and rainbows, fucker. I'm asking for motherfucking some basic human rights for those that have them coming. If they didn't give no basic human rights, right, then they shouldn't be getting out of prison. They shouldn't have a date, and they should be in one of these human rights breaking prisons. That's my point. Nobody's coming out of that prison. True story, like Hotel California. I think the people already there are supposedly the worst of the worst and not getting out. I'm not sure what the plan is for the ones being sent there. All right, this follows off the heels of 29 Mexican cartel traffickers being expelled from Mexico to the U.S. who had long requested many of their extraditions. 6 cartels were... It's funny, too, when Trump said, we got Rafael, Caro, Quinterio. Been looking for this guy for a long time. Well, we got him. Nobody looking for nothing. He was in a fucking cage. He was in a bush. You found him. But y'all will give him that W. The following details are from a cross-section of news outlets and government press release. The president of El Salvador announced his country has accepted hundreds of Venezuelan gang members who were illegally living in the United States as the U.S. judge moved to block deportations of illegal immigrants under a wartime law invoked by President Trumpito. Today, the first 238 members of the Venezuelan criminal organization TREN arrived in our country. They were immediately transferred to Cecot, the Terrorism Confinement Center, for a period of 1 year. Renewable. El Salvador President Nayib Bukele posted to X on Sunday morning, accompanied by video footage of planes on a tarmac. On this occasion, the U.S. has also sent 23 MS-13 members wanted by Salvadorian justice, including 2 ringleaders. One of them is a member of the criminal organization's highest structure. Like, he shouldn't have a date. Like, he's that dude. He shouldn't have a date. No, fool, I was actually asking, what was that as a question? Like, would they be able to be rehabbed if it was different, depending on the type of crimes they committed, I guess. Get me? But now, I don't understand. I think we're mixing up the type of prisons here. From my understanding, this is, you see nothing, you move nowhere, you don't speak, you sit. I don't know if they should have a date for that. That should be for the worst of the worst. You leave them there, that's where they rot if you're not going to put them in the dirt. I wonder if the CIA perspective is going to be brought up in the Caro Quintero case. The best part is how they forced 13 and 18 members to be cellies. Real talk, Trump deserves a W. Caro Quintero, no other. I knew he was coming. I knew it. The moment I said, Rafael Caro Quintero, and I said, take that W, I knew upper echelon was coming in like a wrecking ball. I knew it. I came in like a wrecking ball. Real talk, Trump deserves a W. Caro Quintero, no other president made it happen for 40 years, so he has some credit. Cool, they went and got some motherfuckers. That's not the point. He didn't say that. He said they were looking for him, we found him. That's it. Just holding the motherfuckers to what they say. That's it. It's all right, bro. You can hop down off the fucking wrecking ball. Did you hear that Bukele wants to put 40% tariffs on Mexico? God damn. I'm telling you, they're playing worldwide games and shit. It's a PlayStation out here. These the bunks right here. These the ladders. Here, let's make that bigger. There we go. He got to take a shit. So they got 1 million cops. They paid all the money out there. Look at the size of that fucking thing. But yeah, that's what Albert was asking. Is there some type of rehabilitation? My thought was, if this place is so bad, shouldn't it be a storage, a U-Haul storage for the worst of the worst? I thought that's what it was, the worst of the worst. Well, if they're the worst of the worst, why are they getting out of prison? Good camera, though. Good cameraman. Got his shit dialed in. That's it. They paid a lot of money. What's all this shit on the ground over here? Shrubs and shit? All these rifles and all this shit. For what? Put on a show. They split this dude open. That's the dude that had to take a shit. That's this dude right here. Same guy. There goes your boy. That's what's most important point of this for sure. If folks were just in the wrong place at the wrong time getting sent there, that's another thing that I want to know. They say people tied to. So if my primo is a fuck up, I'm tied to him? How does that work? And people say, oh, why are we asking all these questions? Because these are the kind of questions that need to be asked. Not just throw everybody in prison. Not just get rid of American protesters. Y'all don't want America. Wait till y'all are living in a dictatorship. We're going to see. Enter the country the right way or face the consequences. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. My family was penalized 10 years for coming to the U.S. illegally. Okay. You're right. Do it the right way, right? That's what upper echelon be saying, right? Do it the right way, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. If we're throwing out the baby with the bathwater, though, there's something to be concerned about. And if nobody can see that, then I don't know what to tell you. Gun in his back, dragging him down the stairs. Well, what do you guys think he's going to do? Shake loose and Incredible Hulk his way out of there? I don't understand all of this. Hey, look at this guy. Balling out of control. Look at this guy and this guy's finger in his face. This is politics and this is the American people right here. I got a finger in your face. Calling prison rehabilitation is the government having a dark sense of humor. Apologies to Albert Flores. I thought you were saying I want rainbows and fucking no. Prison is prison, right? You do the crime, like Zimpo said. You do the crime, you do the time. But you can't get it fucked up. Once you start getting it fucked up and you don't care if it's getting fucked up or not, then what are we talking about? We're talking about rehabilitation, right? Let's talk about the corrections here. Didn't they take away opportunities for people to get GEDs and took away a lot of shit from prisoners, right? Well, how you expect to rehabilitate anyone if people seeking education can't get it? His post included a video of members being transferred off the plane to be transported to the Terrorism Confinament Center. The U.S. and El Salvador reached an agreement last month where the U.S. will pay the country $6 million to hold around 300 gang members in the notorious prison Seaside. I asked this question it might have been the day before this announcement was made. And my thought was, how long before the U.S. starts handing over money to people to house these prisoners? And boom, we got it right away. We have sent 2 dangerous top MS-13 leaders plus 21 of its most wanted back to face justice in El Salvador. Also, as promised by POTUS, we sent over 250 alien enemy members of Tren de Aragua, which El Salvador has agreed to hold in their very good jails at a fair price that will also save our taxpayers dollars. Not that 6 million. President Bukele is not only the strongest security leader in our region, he's also a great friend of the U.S. Thank you, wrote Marco Rubio. All Venezuelan citizens 14 years or older who are members of TDA are within the U.S. and are not naturalized or lawful permanent residents of the U.S. may be apprehended. 14-year-olds, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. 14-year-olds, bro. Now somebody's going to say I'm being too easy on 14-year-olds. What? What are these 14-year-olds? What are they into? What are they doing? Tren de Aragua is a designated foreign terrorist organization with thousands of members, many of whom have unlawfully infiltrated the United States and are conducting irregular warfare and undertaking hostile actions against the United States. TDA operates in conjunction with Cartel de los Soles, the Nicolas Maduro regime-sponsored narco-tourism enterprise based in Venezuela, and commits brutal crimes including unaliving, kidnappings, extortions, and human and drug and weapons trafficking. TDA has engaged in and continues to engage in mass illegal migration to the United States to further its objectives of harming United States citizens. All right, show me where the citizens. Can I get some interviews with citizens that were harmed? Undermining public safety and supporting the Maduro's regime's goal of destabilizing the democratic nations in the Americas, including the United States. Venezuela is listed as a do-not-travel country, which could lead to full visa suspension. Judge blocks order. The American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit on Saturday seeking to block President Trump from invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, an obscure law that could allow the government to remove unauthorized immigrants while providing them little due process. Judge James E. Boasberg said at a hearing on Saturday that he intended to issue a broad temporary order preventing the Trump administration from using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport any non-citizens in U.S. custody. It's funny to me how they say, oh, why are we worried about giving these criminals due process? Come on, we're doing too much. Well, we're cutting through the red tape. We're doing it faster. Well, then cut through the red tape for these people that need health care. Huh? Cut the red tape for the old lady that's trying to get something through that can't get through. Cut. That we don't give a shit about. But we'll take away all the other red tape and bureaucracy and speed up the process so nobody sees that we're sending 14-year-olds. Where are we sending 14-year-olds again? Nobody knows. Everybody got an answer, though. Judge James E. Boasberg said at a hearing Saturday that he intended to issue a broad temporary order preventing the Trump administration from using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport any non-citizens in U.S. custody. He said that the terms invasion and predatory incursion in the law really relate to hostile acts perpetrated by enemy nations. He said that any flights that had departed with people under the order needed to return to the United States, however that's accomplished, whether turning around the plane or not. He urged the government, this is something you need to make sure is complied with immediately. And government said,
no mommy's way.
2 flights of gang members. Lee Jalert, and lawyer for the American Civil Liberties Union, said in an interview that he believed 2 flights carrying Venezuelan immigrants out of the country under President Trump's order were in the air on Saturday evening. During the hearing, Judge James E. Boasberg said he was ordering the government to turn flights around and given information unrebutted by the government that flights are actively departing Venezuela's narco state. TDA is closely aligned with and indeed has infiltrated the Maduro regime, including its military and law enforcement apparatus. TDA grew significantly while Tarek al-Assami served as governor of Aragua between 2012 and 2017. In 2017, el-Assami was appointed as vice president of Venezuela. Soon thereafter, the United States Department of the Treasury designated el-Assami as a specially designated narcotics trafficker under the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin designation. El-Assami is currently a United States fugitive facing charges arising from his violations of United States sanctions triggered by his Department of Treasury designation. In 2020, Maduro and other regime members were charged with narco-tourism and other crimes in an alleged plot against America. A failed coup attempt in Venezuela was believed to have been aided by or organized with CIA support. I thought 14-year-olds were called kids in America. Sometimes they even call 18-year-old kids until you get convicted of a crime. I don't know, man. They calling them what they want to call them right now. Think about how different it was in 1798. 98. They were rounding people up on horses. Yeah, that was when you worried about somebody. You was looking at the hill because you can't see the other side of the hill, and you was worried about the motherfucker coming over that side of the hill. The Doge went in there, found that law, and said, let's use it, and that's cool. I'm cool with it. Take the grapists. Take the chomos. Take the PDF files. All of them, including the ones in government. Send them all to that prison. You can send them to Mencho's crematoriums for all I give a fuck. Like El Asami, Maduro, who claims to act as Venezuela's president and asserts control over the security forces and other authorities in Venezuela, also maintains close ties to regime-sponsored narco-terrorists. Maduro leads the regime-sponsored enterprise Cartel de los Soles, which coordinates with and relies on TDA and other organizations to carry out its objective of using illegal narcotics as a weapon to flood the United States. In 2020, Maduro and other regime members were charged with narco-terrorism, tourism, and other crimes in connection with plots against America. Over the years, Venezuelan national and local authorities have ceded ever greater control over their territories to transnational criminal organizations, including Tren de Aragua. The result is a hybrid criminal state that is perpetrating an invasion of and predatory incursion into the United States, and which poses a substantial danger to the United States. Indeed, in December 2024, Interpol, Washington confirmed, Tren de Aragua has emerged as a significant threat to the United States as it infiltrates migration flows from Venezuela. Evidence irrefutably demonstrates that TDA has invaded the United States and continues to invade, attempt to invade, and threaten to invade the country, perpetrated irregular warfare within the country, and used drug trafficking as a weapon against our citizens. Where? I'm starting to feel like Michael Scott. Where did all that happen? I thought y'all were saying Mexico was the big deal with the rugs and all that. Based upon a review of TDA's activities and in consultation with the Attorney General and Secretary of the Treasury. Boom. Alien Enemies Act of 1798. With invoking the act, Trump stated, I find and declare that TDA is perpetrating, attempting, and threatening an invasion or predatory incursion against the territory of the United States. TDA is undertaking hostile actions and conducting irregular warfare against the territory of the United States, both directly and at the direction, clandestine or otherwise, could be otherwise too, of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. I direct that all alien enemies, and that's what they are, aliens, they come from not here, described in Section 1 of this proclamation are subject to immediate apprehension, detention, removal. Take them away, get them out of here, put them in the bathroom. Further, then, they shall not be permitted residence in the United States. Pursuant to the Alien Enemies Act, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security, our Homeland Security, shall consist with applicable law, apprehend, restrain, secure, and remove every alien enemy described in Section 1 of this proclamation. We might just put it in Section 2, just for the hell of it. The Secretary of Homeland Security retains discretion to apprehend and remove any alien enemy under any separate authority. All executive departments and agencies shall collaborate with law enforcement officials of the United States and with appropriate state, local, and tribal officials to use all lawful means to apprehend, restrain, secure, and remove alien enemies described in Section 1 of this proclamation. No alien enemy described in Section 1 of this proclamation shall enter, attempt to enter, or be found within any territory subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Any such alien enemy who enters, attempts to enter, or is found within such territory shall be immediately apprehended, detained until removed from the United States. Gotta move them. All such alien enemies, wherever found within any territory subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, are subject to summary apprehension. Alien enemies apprehended pursuant to this proclamation shall be subject to detention until removed from the United States in such place of detention as may be directed by the officers responsible for the execution of these regulations. Alien enemies shall be subject to removal to any such location as may be directed by the officers responsible for the execution of these regulations consistent with applicable law. All property is in the possession of traceable to an alien enemy, which is intended to be used, or is commonly used to perpetrate the hostile activity and irregular warfare of TDA, along with evidence of such hostile activity and irregular warfare, shall be subject to seizure and forfeiture. The forfeitures are going to be huge. They're going to be huge. Hitting us with the trompito voice. It's going to be huge. It's huge.
More than 200 Venezuelan migrants suspected of being gang members have been deported from the U.S. to a supermax prison in El Salvador. A U.S. federal judge has now ruled that similar deportations under the Alien Enemies Act, which dates back to the 18th century, should be blocked. But according to the White House, the removal from the U.S. had already taken place before that ruling. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke about the move on Sunday in an interview with our U.S. news partner CBS.
We want to get rid of Tren de Aragua gang members. They're terrorists too.
Se te salió, Rubio. It popped out of you.
We want to get rid of Tren de Aragua gang members.
We want to get rid of Tren de Aragua. Shut your bitch ass up. Get rid of them. Cool, I'm with that. Who going with them, though?
We want to get rid of Tren de Aragua gang members. They're terrorists too. The president designated them, asked me to designate, and I did, as a terrorist organization. We want to get rid of them as well. We don't want terrorists in America. I don't know how hard that is to understand. We don't want people in our country that are going to be committing crimes and undermining our national security or the public safety. It's that simple.
Marco Rubio there. Let's speak now to Jorge Perez from BBC Mundo. Good to see you. What do we know about who these migrants or gang members...
I knew a Jorge that looked just like dude. It ain't him, but I know a dude looked just like
members, depending on who you're talking to. Who they actually are, Jorge?
Well, these are migrants that have been accused by the authorities in the United States of allegedly being members of the Tren de Aragua. It's a Venezuelan gang organization that was formed in an iconic prison in Venezuela. Then this band started to spread across the region following many of the flows of Venezuelan migrants. Venezuelan migrants are actually the main target of this organization. Some of them reached the United States and managed to get into the country. And now the U.S. government is not only considering this organization a terrorist organization, but it's also targeting some of its members, deporting them to El Salvador after an agreement they reached with that government. But the questions for some human rights groups is whether the due process was correctly made during this deportation process.
Jorge, why is El Salvador taking them?
Well, El Salvador is the government of President Nayib Bukele, has been launching a campaign of targeting criminals, gang criminals within El Salvador. Then they built this prison known as Cecot. In English, that would mean something like terrorist confinement center. And they have been targeting and arresting and getting into prison some gang members from El Salvador. After this, they reached an agreement with the United States to jail some gang or suspicious gang members arrested in the United States and then deported to El Salvador. The U.S. and El Salvador reached this agreement during a visit of the states.
With some members or suspicious of being members, like, we're wishy-washy with the wording. Okay. I see what you people are willing to allow.
Secretary Marco Rubio, in which he met Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, and they agreed to do this. El Salvador is expecting to receive from the U.S. government around $6 million a year in order for them to keep these suspected, these alleged criminals within this prison. But this has raised a lot of concern among human rights groups because, again, some doubt of the due process that was carried out during this
doubt of the due process. What due process?
Deportation process to El Salvador.
As we've been speaking to you as well, we have seen some pictures that were released by El Salvador of Supermax prison where conditions are extraordinary. Can you just explain what function it serves, how many people are there, and what the reports are of life inside the Supermax prison?
There's a lot of hermetism regarding this prison and a lot of concern.
Now, maybe upper echelon was being sarcastic, but I'm pretty sure there's no sewing program there. They barely got beds, motherfucker. They barely got space. I ain't seen a toilet. All right, and it's like one toilet for like 40 inmates right there.
Concern from human groups around the world about what is El Salvador
Right, they got Crocs. That I know. They got Crocs.
really doing with this prison. They have, even the Salvadoran government has recognized that some of the people that they have arrested and put into this prison, some of them were innocent, but then they were released according to
What? Some of them were some of the people put in this prison were innocent, but then they were released. What?
the Salvadoran government has recognized that some of the people that they have arrested and put into this prison, some of them were innocent, but then they were released according to El Salvador government. This prison is a way in which the Salvadoran government has managed to control violence within this country. For some people within El Salvador, it has been a successful strategy since the...
Listen, I want it. Y'all know me, right? I don't want people oppressing the poor, the innocent, the everyday man, right? If you in the game, go and destroy each other, right? But once you start oppressing, so those are the criminals that need to be taken out. So I have no problem with a prison like this. I have no problem with them, whatever. They have no, they if they're a menace to society and they have no decorum and you know, the people of the people are not safe with these monsters around, cool. Put crematorium or the box, whichever you think is right. You know what I'm saying? But when you start using it to shade and gray area this and this person and that person, I'm just gonna pay attention. Don't be mad at me because I'm paying attention, because I don't trust your government or his side of the aisle or his side of the aisle or the person you voted for, the person you voted for. Miss me with that shit. I'm paying attention. Just watching. I'm not fighting for one side or the other. But do I want PDF files, rapists, unalivers, and all of these motherfuckers in prison? Sure, why not? Also, conservatives pretend to hate dictators or fascists, but I guess only the one that disagree with them. El Salvador only allowed one term, and Bukele had them rewrite the Constitution for a second term. It's all picking and choosing. It's all bullshit. That's why I don't understand the alliances and the ignorance and the yelling at me about it when it's just trigger words and bullet points. They're all actors, all of them. They're all actors, all of them. Both fuck Rubio. They're all actors, all of them. Both sides. It's political theater. Period. While they're up there doing what they want to do. Hey, I'm gonna send y'all $6 million. I need this publicity for this, that. Everybody. You know? Shout out 298. But I'm just telling y'all, that's why the Rubio, Rubia, the Santi, Dos Santos, La Madre que le parió, all of them. Fuck them all. None of them are here for you. Believe that. Whether you voted for them or you didn't, they're not here for you. And I get it, you have to all day long, but I made the right decision. You deal with that in the mirror. Don't come yelling at me about it. Guess who won the second term? I wonder. They have no programs or anything in that jail for inmates. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck Jay's talking about, or upper echelon. I don't know what the fuck he talking about. A sewing. I think he was trying to be funny, but the typo threw me off. If you oppress the innocent, you gotta go. Period. That's how I feel. And it should be the innocent to take those motherfuckers out. The story that I have premiering at 3 o'clock is about a 5-year-old young lady, a 5-year-old little girl, who was with her father in a gas station, unalived by his ops. And then the two ops that unalived him and unalived the little girl, they took off. And my thoughts were, whoever's hiding them, you're a bitch. Whoever knows where they're at and is in the street and considers themselves something, use a hoe. Because if you weren't, you'd destroy those motherfuckers for doing what they did to that baby. Whether it was an accident or not, don't care. The street should eat them. If you oppress the innocent should be able to destroy you. Shai, the craziest thing is MS and 18th Street are the worst of enemies. Now they live in the same cell. Listen, man. Gangs, this is just the truth. Gangs are the White Sox and the Chicago Cubs, bro. Your favorite team or your favorite team. If you switch uniforms, they're the same motherfucker. You never know your ally until your ally is the only motherfucker left. And you fighting a common enemy. Ain't Reagan say that?
criminality and the activity of gang members have actually reduced, and it's one of the main flagships of the Salvadoran government of Nayib Bukele. But on the other hand, there are questions, a lot of questions from human rights groups, whether how's the treatment from the authorities to these people. It is said, for example, that they have to spend 23 hours and 30 minutes a day within a cell.
Oh, no. Bad branding right there. Jordan.
They have to spend 23 hours.
That's ganga shit right there.
Hours and 30 minutes a day.
Boom. Jordan. 26 Kings get along county at times. Well, put it this way. All of their chiefs and shit do business together. Don't get that fucked up. If you think that the top levels of every gang ain't selling dope with another, nah, you fooling yourself. What's next? They're gonna make to make Jordans at the prison in El Salvador. Well, I mean, is that gonna bring the price back down to 90s prices? I'll take it. All right, let's get that kind of exploitation, the kind that benefits me, right? This is America, ain't it? Ain't that how I'm supposed to be?
Within a cell, with a lot of other people in the same cell. They only have, for example, 30 minutes a day for other activities out of their cells, and it's the way the government has responded to the violence in the country, but it now seems to be something that has attracted the attention of the U.S. government, trying to find an ally in this region in Latin America, where they can actually deport some of the people they are accusing of being criminals or gang members.
And Jorge, what about the role of Venezuela in this? And this massive gang that's obviously spread from outside Venezuela, if it's found so many of its people now.
She said Venezuela. The fuck is Venezuela, lady? We know you got an accent, but you ain't got no R's. I don't know what the fuck you doing.
And Jorge, what about the role of Venezuela in this? And this massive gang that's obviously spread from outside Venezuela, if it's found so many of its people now in the U.S. What do we know about the gang?
The gang is known as Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua in English means train of Aragua, and it took the name from a union in the countryside in Venezuela that was building a railroad in the country in the past years. And then they started to function within a prison in Venezuela. These were people that were convicted, were sent to a prison years ago, and then they started to form a gang from that prison. From that prison, they started to operate first, targeting people that was within the prison. So they were basically a gang that was extorting or asking for money within the prison. But then they started to expand their operations to the towns around this prison, and they managed to expand those operations throughout Venezuela. What happened after is that after 2013, Venezuela went through a horrible economic and social crisis, which made millions of Venezuelans to leave the country. There are right now about 8 million Venezuelans living abroad. This gang started to follow the route and the path, the flows of these Venezuelan migrants, and they were targeting the migrants. Then they started to become a sort of multinational, international gang organization operating in countries like Colombia, Chile, Peru. And after all, they even managed to cross to the United States. According to the U.S. authorities, they have caught some of the members of these gangs over there.
Jorge, great to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Venezuela. Right, they spend a lot of money for these little parades, huh? Ah, that's the other plane. Okay, it could be new footage. It could be not documentary footage. There's two different planes. You're right. Yeah, so that's not documentary footage that we just looked at on that article. That was real deal shit, because that's the guy that got to take a shit right there. Clean ass drone footage. on, man. Why all this police presence and this pomp and circumstance and the flash bulbs and the bullshit? It's all for news, man. This is all chess. It's all fucking public relations and lack thereof. It was a lot, it's a lot of inmates, 227 or whatever it was. But y'all needed 6,000 people to be there for it? It's Con Air, bro. That's the Plain de Aragua.
¡Nombre! ¡Nombre!
César Eliseo Soto Manga.
¡Quite!
All right, cool. This deters things. Violent gangs cease to exist. Who we putting in those prisons next? Huh? Who's got next? All right, there you have it. Get your ass in your bunk. They had a shitter in there. I didn't see it. That's just slabs, boy. Lay your ass on a slab.